unfortunately, when a person gets so much familiar with sin, and so much, a person takes to sin and becomes his own habit, this darkness will intensify until his heart dies, because the light gives life to his heart. When darkness intensifies in the heart, gradually the heart will die. And when the heart dies, it means eternal punishment in the hereafter. And when the heart dies, it means so much misery, pain, and agony, and ordeals in this world. Because the heart will be totally distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will only contain darkness, filth, and everything that is evil. And it will be taken, it will be overtaken by shaitan himself, and it will be under the control of shaitan. So such a person, such a human being with such a heart will be one of the worst people, or among the worst people on earth. People who spread mischief, who spread evil, who spread sins. And such a person cannot tell the difference between what's right and what's wrong, except what suits his own inclinations, what he likes and what he dislikes, what seems to be beneficial to him according to his deficient insight. This is what's good for him. What's harmful to him, okay, what he doesn't like, according to his deficient insight, to him this is something evil. So all his scales will be altered, and he will lose sound judgment. The problem with this darkness, when it intensifies, it will spread from the heart to the eyes, to the rest of the body as well. So sometimes you see people and you can tell there is darkness in their eyes. You don't feel comfortable dealing with them. You don't feel comfortable speaking with them. You don't feel comfortable even looking at them. You can feel the darkness in their eyes. And if darkness intensifies and the person keeps going in the way of sin, more opposition to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more challenge against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, more transgression and violation of the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, darkness will cover the face. And you can see it. And it happens that we meet people around. Sometimes we meet individuals whose faces are dark, and you can feel it. And it's not about the skin color. There's a feeling that you can see with your own eyes. Because sometimes we have, for example, black brothers from African origin. Wallahi, you see light shining. You see the face is shining. A light comes out from their face. The light of Iman. You can see it. But sometimes you see people with white skin, but you see their faces are dark and black. You can see that. They are so dark. The darkness is apparent on the face. The darkness of kufr, of disbelief, the darkness of sin, the darkness of being so distant from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you see it, you feel uneasy about it. You just want to run away from that. You don't want to harm your sight by seeing such a thing. I know that many people know what I'm talking about. And likewise, an act of worship, acts of righteousness, will bring more light to your heart, and this light will be reflected on the eyes and on the face. And sometimes we meet people, when you see them, you just love them. And sometimes you enjoy just staring at such people because of the light emanating and stemming from the face. You can see the light of Iman is there. And the Prophet ﷺ said that a righteous person would be that once you see him, he reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because of the light in his face. He reminds you of Allah. He reminds you of something your heart recognizes, which is the light that Allah puts in the hearts of His believing servants. So we can see that sins are very destructive. They're very harmful to the heart. And this darkness causes so much pain to the heart. But when the heart is wrapped with darkness and immersed in it, it feels numb. And it doesn't urge that person to try to solve the problem, but actually the person keeps going in the same way of darkness, to have more darkness, to have more numb feelings, and he loses track totally. But the problem is that at the moment of death, the heart will start to feel the pain, and it will be an unbearable type of pain beyond the capability of human beings to put up with. And this pain will keep intensifying. And this kind of pain is actually beyond our imagination. So let's try to take care of our hearts and not let our hearts go into that way of darkness. And let's keep the light in our hearts. Something else that the sins really affect the heart with is because the sins, as they affect the light, which is supposed to be in the heart, they also affect the strength or the life of the heart. And once they do that, the heart becomes weaker. When the heart becomes weaker, as a person, you will be weaker. You will lose courage. You will lose strength. You will lose patience. You will lose, you will lose so many qualities. The strength that you used to have, the liveliness, you will lose all of that because of the sin. And not only that, this weakness of the life of your heart will be reflected on your body. Because the strength of a Muslim comes from his heart. Even the physical strength comes from the heart. So when the heart gets weaker, then the body will get weaker. And actually the sin has very destructive impacts on the heart and on the body. And this is something that is proven in the Quran and the Sunnah, and the books of tafsir are full with something like that when they talk about sin. So the sin is very destructive. It affects the heart and it also affects the body because it removes the blessings that are given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you will start to lose your health, you will start to lose your strength, and you will see that your body will deteriorate. Yes, some people maintain good health, but if such people had faith, had iman, had light and life in their hearts, you would see them even in a far better state. So this is why sins are very destructive, because they destroy the heart first. And once the heart is destroyed and its strength is taken away, this will spread to the rest of the body. This will spread to the rest of the limbs. Another evil consequence of the heart has to do as well, as I said, with the heart itself. A consequence of the sins has to do with the heart and the body. And hopefully, actually, in future episodes, we will have the time to elaborate more on this. So I will leave more harms of the sin for future episodes. You are invited to join us in the future. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.